It is Packer Week, and it is proven and backed by science that if you subscribe, the Vikings are more likely to beat the Green Bay Packers. So hit that big red button. Join us for free videos all throughout the week and season and postseason, offseason. And once you're subscribed, whether that was today or weeks ago or months ago, whatever, type FGB to show you don't like the Packers, but you love the Minnesota Vikings. You're watching Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey. Here's what's coming up on today's show. A lot of buzz that the NFL and some experts out there are higher than you might expect on the Minnesota Vikings in year one of Kevin O'Connell. There's some Jalen Reagor hype. We'll break that down. And more of the Alexander Mattison trade rumors, all coming up on today's show. But first, let's look at some of the experts who are hyped about the Minnesota Vikings. NFL legend Jason McCourty, longtime player, made his picks this week for the NFC, who wins the division, the wild card. You can see all 7 teams. We focus in, though, on, of course, the NFC North. Minnesota is the pick there by Jason McCourty. Green Bay getting the wild card. Kyle Brandt, also part of Good Morning Football, has the Vikings again with the Packers as a wild card team. Plus, kind of a wild pick of the Panthers when the NFC South. That's a side point there. Minnesota picked by both of those two experts, and I'll call them talking heads, I guess, in the end. But Minnesota was close last year to making the postseason. I think this roster overall is pretty good. It's not perfect. I think we know that. That's why Minnesota's not among the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl. The big question mark for me is, how does a new coach fare? I have some hype excitement about Kevin O'Connell, and it's time for the offense, in a way that maybe they were limited from doing so in the past, to unleash what could be a very potent passing attack with Kevin O'Connell and Kirk Cousins. Colin Cowherd, who has also been on the Vikings hype train this year to the extent that I think at one point he said double their wins, which it would have been 13. That's not, I don't think that's what he meant. But, or 14 I think it actually would have been. So here's what Cowherd had to say. If you ever had a boss who was rigid and didn't even trust you, I think absolutely it affects your performance. Kirk Cousins, whose personality can shrink in big games anyway, look at his season. They won a couple overtime games, but they were just not very good late, and I think that's going to be a game changer. I think it's very clear, even outside of maybe Kellen Mond, Mike Zimmer never loved Kirk Cousins, which is kind of weird to think about because, yeah, I get it. There are the moments in primetime games. Looking at that Cowboys loss still will never make sense to me. You know, down the stretch, big moments where maybe he doesn't shine, and yeah, I think Mike wanted to be more aggressive downfield. His numbers have always been really good. Kirk Cousins is kind of that threshold for me of like, is he a top 10 quarterback? No. Is he top 15? I think so. And the other options behind him are terrifying. It's like, shit, it's Daniel Jones. We're screwed. Like, you don't want to go into quarterback purgatory. I think that's why Minnesota extended Kirk Cousins, etc. So, to an extent, though, with the way his contract's set up, this is a critical year for Kirk Cousins to show he can have more success. It's not fair. It's not how you should evaluate, but from a general standpoint, especially from fans and whatnot, if the wins don't come, they blame the QB, even if the defense last year wasn't very good. So do you believe in Kirk Cousins? Y for yes, N for no. This will be the pinned comments on today's video. So if an ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know Y for yes, N for no. Let's talk Jalen Reagor now. He's going to wear number 5 for the Minnesota Vikings, and I think in particular, he was brought in to return punts and potentially be wide receiver 3, 4, somewhere in that area. Reagor's spoken recently about his return, joining the Minnesota and playing with Justin Jefferson, who, fair or not, he will always be compared to since the Eagles took him ahead of Jefferson. Again, thanks, Philly. It's a blessing. He's a great player, great receiver, and just to be alongside him, learn from other receivers, especially him and Adam Thielen, I'm just taking all I can in and be a sponge and be a great teammate. So he's saying all the right things. Minnesota under Kevin O'Connell will utilize 11 personnel. That's 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and thus 3 receivers, a lot more than what they did in the past. I mean, the Rams have lived at 11 personnel. There's a good running back in Dalvin Cook and Irv Smith and not great tight end depth. It's going to be 3 receiver sets nonstop. And that's going to be Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and some KJ Osborne, but they will have moments where Jalen Reagor is out there. Now, with Amir Smith-Marset already gone, Reagor will be this team's go-to partner. Hopefully better than what he was in the past. So Reagor was a bust in Philadelphia. There's really no way around that. And I think the comparison to Jefferson, what it could have been, definitely hurt him. But a new situation, I think is going to be a good standpoint from that. I think the change of scenery is big for him. So what is your confidence level in Jalen Reagor? Scales for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let me know in the comments section. Now, today's show is made possible by BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125. 125% deposit bonus when you put down at least $100. That's free money to bet with. And this might come as a surprise to some, but at home in week 1, Minnesota is a 1-point underdog against the Green Bay Packers. That's a fairly low spread given the way Minnesota ended last year and how well Green Bay has played in general against the Vikings in recent years with Aaron Rodgers. I think a pretty good sign of, hey, that receiving core for Green Bay is bad. They might not be as good as what they were in the past. I don't mind Minnesota as a trendy upset pick over Green Bay. You can bet on the Minnesota Vikings all year long with BetUS. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code CHAT125. Let's hit the trade rumors now of Alexander Mattison. Will he be dealt? There was a lot of buzz around roster cutdown time, and I don't know how much of it was really true in the end, remembering where things came from. NFL insider Matt Lombardo, who bats about 50%, so that 12 teams have reached out to Minnesota, had reached out, I should say, gauging interest in Alexander Mattison, and I wonder what they wanted. Did they want him as RB1? Did they want him as a backup? And I think what they wanted him as would directly inform what they were willing to give up. Maybe they thought, they heard some noise of, hey, maybe the Vikings don't love Mattison. Maybe they could get him for a 7th-round pick, something like that. Now, Mattison is on this team. He's going to make the roster barring a trade. We know that right now. In the event an injury occurs to a team starter, maybe there's more value there for Mattison. But unlike most years, there is depth at the running back spot, and in Madison's last year, and a new scheme that he doesn't fit the same way, although I pushed back on the pass catching. He did it at Boise. He was good there, but the Vikings didn't throw the ball back. So, of course, his numbers were lower. He wasn't used there. So, he's in an awkward spot long term, and that does interject some short-term questions. Here's what Chris Tomasson, one of the top Vikings beat reporters, said. Source said that Mattison, who has spent the past 3 years backing up star back Dalvin Cook, very much likes being in Minnesota, but he wants to be a starting running back. That's why Mattison, 24, doesn't want to tie himself to the Vikings beyond this season. I mean, duh, right? Like, if you're Alexander Mattison, you know how short the shelf life is of running backs. You want to find a way to get a starting spot and cash in at some point. Now, I think players like Mattison are not going to find a ton of interest in them. It's just the running back market is about as bad as it comes in the NFL because there's just not that much interest there. But I'm excited about Kenny Nwangu, Ty Chandler. Both guys fit that scheme pretty well there for Minnesota. I think next year it's Dalvin Cook, Nwangu, Chandler. Mattison, I think, will be elsewhere. So if you get a good trade offer, consider it. You know, if you believe in Nwangu, if you believe in Ty Chandler, you owe it to your team long term to think about making that move. But if it's a 7th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, no. I think you got to get something good for Mattison. Otherwise, keep him as a backup RB. And remember, with the NFL comp pick formula, you might be able to get that 6th or 7th round pick or something in that range if you lose Mattison in free agency, depending on what else you do. So, sure, listen to offers. Unless you're getting a pretty good pick, I'd say 4th-ish. 5th is probably maybe in the range too, which I find unrealistic to get for Alexander Mattison. Then keep him. And that's what I think ends up happening in the end. Now, if you made it to the end of the video and you're subscribed, type in FGB in the comments section. I'd like nothing more than watching the Packers open up week 1 of the NFL season with a loss against the Minnesota Vikings. So spam FGB in the comment section. And remember, if you're subscribing, type in FGB, it is scientifically proven that it is more likely the Packers will lose and the Vikings will win in week 1 of the 2022 season.